Harris, you're watching Bosun Down Bushcraft, and today we're going to be taking a look at why I hate folding stoves. But before we get into that, I'm just going to take a moment to appreciate the beautiful sun illuminated woodland and get some vitamin coffee down my neck. Right then guys, I am pretty sure a lot of you are familiar with these sorts of things. The folding stove, you can get them everywhere, you know, all your usuals, your Amazons, your Temus, your eBays. There's even private little companies that have started making them and jumping on the bandwagon, and I have to say, I absolutely hate these things. They are, to me, the absolute epitome of what bushcraft isn't. And it's just another fine example of how sales and commercialism gets its face and horrible little claws into everything and ruins it. In my opinion, bushcraft, the number one thing you should be carrying around is skills and knowledge, and they're weightless and free. This is just another attempt at a company to get money out of you, and this is aimed at no specific brand, but this is just another attempt at a company to get money out of you for something that you don't need, will hardly ever use, and you're basically just going to be carrying it around for no good reason. Yeah, it's pointless. From an environmental standpoint, it flies directly in the face of what most of the principles of bushcraft would be, because this has had to be produced, packaged, posted. It's had to, faffed around with, tested, and all that has taken time, it's taken effort, it's taken packaging and plastic. And when I got this thing, it was wrapped in 3 layers of plastic, all for stainless steel in a nice little plastic nylon bag. It's all about it. Everything about them is, to me, is just absolute nonsense, including the main piece of nonsense, which I'm just about to show you now. Right then, so let's get and light this loathsome little thing. Built so stupidly bloody small of a firebox that your sticks need to be the size of matches. Right, let's light the silly thing. Now, I mostly see people using some variety of firelighters or other, even if you've got the more natural ones with the, looks like it's got straw wound round them and all of that. It's still a firelighter, you've still purchased a firelighter. So to me, there's no difference between that and a box of normal firelighters aimed at lighting coal fires. I'm going to use these today because I've experimented with these things before, and putting birch bark and other such means to get them to start the ignition process is fairly a waste of time for the size of the firebox. It takes that much time and attention to get it to do that right. So what I'm going to do is cheat and use a firelighter, because why not? Because like I say, most people will be using firelighters with these things, because to be totally honest with you, and I'm just going to get straight to the brass tacks, if you're the kind of person who thinks they need a little small metallic box to boil a brew on or cook on, then you're going to be the kind of person who's using firelighters, aren't you? You ain't taking this out into the woods and lighting it with a bow drill. Let's be perfectly honest there. Now starts the process of fueling it. Starts the process because that process never ends. Already I'm having difficulty with its stupid fiddliness. Now of course, to be an efficient test, I need to make sure, or wait until that firelighter is completely burned away and it's just running on sticks. So that firelighter is still burning at the bottom, and I'm still having to throw more wood into it. And I've experimented with these things before. They're like toddlers. They need your constant attention and constantly feeding. They're an absolute nuisance in my opinion. I'll just wait until I know that that whole firelighter has been digested, so that we know we're on sticks, as we're supposed to be. Right, that fire layer is pretty much all gone. Let's get the old water pot on it. Now what I have to do is sit here for pretty much until the water boils, because if I don't sit here and constantly feed this thing, it's just going to go out on me. So you can see down there as well, I probably haven't cleaned the ground as well as I could, but the fire is escaping. The whole side of it's buckling, the fire's escaping through the bottom. And for anybody who's like, oh, it stops you setting the woods on fire, no, it doesn't. You're still going to have to put some sort of base plate underneath it, or metal plate, which you could have done with just a small fire anyway. I often carry this quite a large metal plate that will fold into a water boiling jug, and that makes an excellent fire bottom. Alternatively, you could have done it just on top of some larger logs, just made a small fire on top of some bigger logs, and that would save the ground. This is doing nothing for that. Oh, and lo and behold, it's getting ready to be fed again. Now the thing is, this might not be too bad for boiling a brew, you know, for making yourself a coffee. Might not be too awful for that. But could you imagine cooking on it? If you're trying to cook on this thing, it's a two-man job. It's gonna be like running a steam engine. Say you've got a nice big pan like that iron pan I use sometimes, and you're there frying away, minding your own business. You're gonna need a friend to be running the firebox at the front of it like a steam train. Somebody is gonna have to constantly pile fuel into it, because if you take your eyes off it for more than a minute, it goes out. Now, I'm sure this video is going to be quite controversial in some senses, because there's always going to be those people who like love these things. Maybe it was their first experience in bushcraft, and I understand in some parts it's one of those things that they'll sell you to say, oh, it's sort of like to get you involved, to get you, you know, into bushcraft, to get you thinking about it. But as I said a minute earlier, that, you know, what we really should be taking with us is skills and knowledge and as little kit as possible. It's like those people you meet that have got every type of knife that has ever been made, and you're like, why? How many are you taking out with you? I mean, it's, especially if you're UK based, how many do you need? It's not like, oh, this is a jungle knife. Okay, and when you're needing that right now, it's kit collecting. It's kit collecting is what it is. And in bushcraft, I'm very much against that. You need a good, reliable set of kit, various items, an axe, a knife, a good bag, a good water bottle, maybe some filtration and stuff. You know, we are living in 2025. There's no reason you should be poisoning yourself with poor quality water. Filtration. I'm not against you carrying anything modern that is there strictly as a safety implement at all. No. So if you know you've got ceramic water filters, the iodine straws, the iodine, all sorts of methods of purifying, that's fine. Why are we carrying? You know, for me, it's the difference between. Somebody says, what is the difference between bushcraft and camping? Well, you can get all philosophical about the differences between bushcraft and camping, or you could say it how it is. The bushcraft is camping without kit, or with much less, more reduced kit. Oh, and in the time I've been talking to you guys, which has just been, what, 15 seconds maybe, lo and behold, it's gone out. Just whilst that fires back up a bit. It is a bugbear of mine, and it crawls into everything that we do like a fungus in our lives. I don't want to go too deep on this, but it bothers me so much. It's like archery. I do work as an archery instructor, and I have personally been involved in archery myself, shooting personally for well over 20 years now. And the things that they will sell you to fasten to your bow to make you more accurate, and they don't at all. They actually make you worse, because you're learning to rely on gadgets and devices, so you don't build any actual skill. I will not teach people anything to do with archery unless we are starting with a completely bare, unsighted, unbalanced bow. It's a bendy stick, and I have no trouble within 1 hour teaching people to the point where they can hit pieces of string dangling from the roof of our archery shelter where I work, or even wooden chip forks stuck in a piece of foam at the back of the range. People are hitting things like that, and that was with unsighted, unbalanced, just a standard recurve bow. We don't need all this add-on nonsense in our life. That now, as I caught it too late, it wants wafting to get it to go. It's smoking back up again. I haven't got anything to waft it with. I suppose I could use the fire lighter box and give that a go. La-di-da-di-da-da-dee-da-doo. There we go. Still hasn't boiled my water, by the way. It's honestly, it's like a little woodland child. The moment I take my eyes off it, it's misbehaving. Not to mention the fact that because the fire is relatively low temperature for the size of it, the carbon that's coming off it, the choking that's coming off it, it's a bit nasty. Anyway, let's see if that gets going. If it goes out again, it's staying out, because nothing should be this nonsensy. It really shouldn't. Oh, it's not going to get going again, is it? I mean, you know, if you've watched my channel, you've seen me all weathers, all times of year, in the snow, lighting fires, very little trouble. This thing's just too small, it's a nuisance. That's after about faff around building it, collecting things for it, and snapping sticks up into the teeniest little incarnations to get them to fit through the silly firebox hole. And yeah, I mean, the pan's still cool enough I can put my fingers on it. So that's not a great sign for something you want to boil water. And like I say, if you're cooking on it, you've got two settings. That's gone out, or whatever you're cooking, we'll imagine it's a tin of beans, it's incinerated it to the bottom of the pan. You are never going to get any sort of flow rate control. You can't just cook on embers because they don't last 5 minutes. Absolutely worthless things, in my opinion. I get it, some people will be, oh, I love them, which I understand. If you've got a slightly larger model and you're just making a cup of coffee, yeah, I get it. It would work for that. But when you've seen what I did a few weeks back with the quad burner tuna can stove, this thing's just a waste of time. Why pay for that when you could make a multi-use, much simpler tuna can stove and use it in the woods, put it out, use it again, use it again, use it again. You've made it, you haven't paid for it. But once you're finished with it, you can recycle it again and again. It just, this to me doesn't make sense. This to me is commercial interference in the beautiful art of bushcraft. Barely even warm. Right then, let's have a look at an alternative. Now, assuming that we do, see, look, the ground's hot as hell there anyway. So a lot of that heat is transferred into the ground from that. So, assuming that we are carrying at least the normal things, and as I said, for the most times that I've ever seen anybody use these, I have seen them use fire lighters to do so. So, with just the addition of 4 stout sticks and a small hole, and of course you don't need the fancy shovel to dig that hole. You could just get a digging stick. If I remember rightly, when I was over with Mr. Sticks of Sticks Outdoors, he in the morning was sorting out the fire pit. That man with just a stick basically hit China. I don't think I have ever seen anybody make quite so much of a huge hole with just a stick. So well done there. So what I've done anyway, I'm going 4 stout sticks, and I'm going to stand my pan on. I've gone for holly because holly is a very damp wood. When it's green, it's not going to burn through too super easily. Holly's not a good wood to cook on, as in to actually burn on your fire, or if your food or whatever you're heating isn't protected, because holly is toxic, I believe. But for this purpose, my water is in a pan, so it's not going to have a big issue. Lovely. It's not going to have anything get into it basically because it's in that pan. So assuming we are carrying some sort of fire lighter, which is what I've mostly seen people do when they're using these things, And it's not a bad thing to do, you know, if you look at it from bushcraft survival and more, you know, that sort of side. There is no harm in carrying things that are going to make life a tickle more easy for you. So on that note, I'm just going to, that's too big, don't need that much. I'm just going to take a little lump like that. Light that up. Bung that in the hole. Put the pan on straight away. There's a bit of wind blowing around, so all I'm going to do, there's a nice pile of logs here from a previous person's fire. I'm just going to make a bit of a windbreak. It's a 5-second jobby. Just whilst that's going, I should really move the camera. Go. So instead of that teensy weensy pathetic little firebox, I've now got something I can easily get wood into. I'm not restricted. It's going to get full oxygenation. I could have dug the actual hole a little bit bigger. No way. Oh no, I think that's wood hissing. I thought it was the water boiling already. I was going to say, that's silly. Now, you don't have to use the fire lighters. You could obviously, if you wished, you could have started this with a bit of birch bark or anything else, but just for ease and simplicity, I'm using the fire lighters. And like I've said a few times, a lot of the times I've seen people lighting the little folding stoves. They've done it with fire lighters anyway, just for that convenience. And I think that's the idea with with these folding stoves. The idea is that they're trying to make out that they're selling you convenience, which is not a quality you really want in bushcraft. You make convenience. My actual firebox down here is considerably larger, and you can, you know, obviously I could have made that as large as I wanted to, but it's considerably larger already. It's actually a slower burn as well, because the fire base is a little bit under the ground, so that's sort of slowing it up just a little bit, which means it's nowhere near as fuel hungry. It's self-regulating in a much better way. Yeah, and already that's getting hot. It's already getting... Yeah, it's a little too hot to really hold my hand on now. It's probably been burning a little less than the actual metal box that I booted over there. I will tidy that up, by the way. And I've just used the scraps of the wood that I hadn't burned on that stove, and we've got a nice calm frame. And as you can see, your windshield, it's a 5-second job to chuck that up. It's made out of sticks. You didn't have to buy anything. So this one burns so much steadier and nicer that without adding any extra fuel than what I have done the last time you saw me do so, I was able to sneak off over there and have a pee. It hasn't gone out. And it hasn't gone out because the folding stoves are designed, they work like rocket stoves. They've got a lot of air draw. That makes it burn super hot because they're built like an incinerator. That might seem like a great idea to get the fire going in the first place, but when it comes to cooking, that isn't what you need. That is not what you want. You don't want an incinerator. And from the guise of purifying water, ideally, what you want, if you're using fire, is a 4-minute rolling boil. Now, 4 minutes of rolling boil on one of them little foldy stoves, it's going to be a labour-intensive job. This, I've just wandered off over there. Still haven't put any more wood on it yet. And it's still going. Let's have a look at what our water is doing. This handle is a bit of a work of nuisance. Lovely. So that is starting to boil, and this pan is really ready for a clean. Now, for a faster boil but a smaller firebox, I could have hammered the holly a bit deeper into the ground, put the pan closer to the fire. Don't really need to do that right now. We're only experimenting with it anyway because I've already got a brew. So already, and it's been 3-4 minutes I've been faffing with it, and already it's more than hot enough for a brew. like I say, if I wanted it full on rolling boil, all I've got to do, just lower those sticks a little bit. But it is still burning, and it is still pretty much the first pile of wood that I threw in there. So what I am going to do is lower those sticks just a little bit, and cover my pan back up, as some bits of crud I've got in it. I just took it off to look at it. Right then, so with just a little adjustment of stick height, let's get it to that furiously rolling boil. Finally, it does want a little bit more fuel. So you can see it's all holding up nicely. The holly sticks are doing all right. There's still steam coming out of it. I can hear it now making the boiling noise. It's only been 3, 4, 5 minutes at most. So you can see that just within 5-6 minutes maybe, we've got that rolling boil now. It's bubbling. That's the temperature you want it at to kill any bacteria in your water. So really you want 4 minutes of that nonsense, and that'll make sure your water is pretty much absolutely safe. Constant, furious bubble. You have to excuse the colour of the pan. It is now getting ready for a jolly good clean. And it's still on a rolling boil. It's still bubbling away, making my water nice and safe. I don't really need this water because I did make a brew before I came out, but begging else me coffee gone. But as I've already boiled it, and as I have some coffee, I'm going to use it. See, I don't really have milk or anything, so because it's off the boil now, I've let it rest a bit so it's cooled a touch to my sort of coffee drinking temperature. There we go. Lovely coffee top up. Now all I need to do is just sit here, let that continue burning out until it's all completely burnt through, which it's going to do on its own. I'll just fertle it around a bit, get the wood in the centre. It's pretty much completely burned out now. It's pretty much completely gone out. A quick tip that I'm not going to do here because I just don't need to, I'm just going to let them burn down to absolutely nothing. But when you are wanting to get a fire to go out, or say, particularly with an on-ground fire, not a below-ground fire, water is obviously a great idea. I don't know if I'm in shot or not, but we're all used to that by now. Water's a great idea if you've got it to spare. One of the easiest ways to encourage it to go out is to actually rake all your coals out, spread them out away from each other. They will then lose all the heat that they have got, and at that point go out on their own, and then you can gather them back up, bury them, whatever you want to do. Throwing water on, it's great, but it's, are you close to water? Have you got that much water to spare? Not everybody has water and streams close at hand, so you can just rake them out and let them go out like that. Fire is an interesting animal. Obviously we all know the fire triangle, yeah, the fuel, the heat and the oxygen. Heat being, well, they're all crucial obviously, but heat being that thing that it's the catalyst basically. So if it's not bunched together and creating that heat, the wood can't gasificate. Now it does that at around 300 Celsius. So when you separate the pieces of wood from each other and they start to lose their own heat, that's when it'll go out. As we all know from when we were kids trying to light a stick on fire, and yeah, you can light a stick on fire, but as soon as you take it away from the main body of the fire, it just goes out. That's because it's very unlikely that one stick or one log will hold that temperature on its own and then self-gasificate. It usually takes 2 or 3. It's just like if you're lighting a fire from the fire dogs, which is basically finding in old fire pits charcoal, preferably dry, so you ideally want it that's been buried under other stuff. Get some sparks onto that, blow it when it glows red, blow it up as much as you can, then as soon as you can, introduce another. Now it's not going to be until about the 3rd piece goes on and you're blowing it that you get the actual flames. That's when you've got all that heat trapped with the other logs. It's insulating itself, it's getting hotter, it gasificates, it goes. Good dry days with good dry charcoal, you might be lucky and get it go with 2. But out here in the wild, when you found fire dogs from a fire pit, it's most likely you're going to need at least 3 to get it going. So you can put a fire out just by raking the embers out and waiting. Right, so we don't need the firewall anymore, the wind wall. It can all be gotten rid of. Don't need these sticks. The holly's cooled. And you look, never got even close to burning through. Even this wee one is still solid. Certainly solid enough, completely unburned in the middle. So it shows you how, depending on your wood choice, like I say, holly is always wet. So a live holly is always damp. Excellent for making your little fire pegs. Excellent for making tent pegs, to be honest with you. Right then, so somebody else's broken bottle. So the ground's obviously quite warm. I'm very lucky here that the ground here is always wet. It's not particularly peaty either. It's very soil composty. It's not particularly peaty. It's not known around here for being bad for catching fire and smouldering underground. But I do have a little water spare, so I am just going to dampen it up and make sure. Lovely. So every time I do this with a fire, I've got sticks outdoors in the back of my mind panicking we're setting fire to the whole woodland floor here. Like I say, I have never seen anybody go so deep with a stick. It was amazing. It's like, yes, we'll be in China in a minute. It's well done there. Right then, I'm just going to chop that about a bit. Make sure it's all soggy and wet, and it is. And then backfill it with all this lovely soggy stuff that I took out in the first place. And there we go for the Leave No Trace Brigade. I have left no trace. Now that is just one way of doing it without the nuisance foldy stove. Yeah, it's just one way. There's loads of ways. If you don't want to dig a little hole in the ground, you can always just find a couple of damp logs, use them as your base and make a small fire on top of that, because it's only for cooking or boiling water, so you don't need it to go on too long. And let's be totally fair about this. Any British woodland, if you can't find fallen, rotten, soaking wet wood that's not going to catch fire, that's the easy thing to find. That is the easy thing to find. I mean, I can see 5 or 6 from here right now, half rotten and absolutely sodden, neither use nor ornament for anything else, but perfectly acceptable to use as a fire base for a cooking fire, so that you don't set fire to things you don't want to. You don't have to have metal involved, but it's there for you if you want to find it. Or, as Owen from Life's a Hobby said to me about in the depths of winter when I was, the ground temperature was affecting my fire lighting for the salmon cooking video, and Owen says what they used to do in Ireland when you have that problem of the ground being so cold is basically make a small bed of rocks and light your fire on top of that. Obviously he was talking about damp conditions and all of that whatnot, but the principle remains the same. Small handful of rocks, that'll keep your fire off the ground. Yeah, we're only talking small fires anyway. These aren't raging infernos, so just a small collection of rocks will do the same thing. If you're hell-bent on having a stove like that, and that's, you know, if you like them, you want to use them, hey, it's really none of my business. But alternatively, why not make a hobo stove out of a large bean can or something like that? It's the same thing. At least you've made it, at least you've put some skill into it. Waypoint Survival's a good one for that. If you check out the channel Waypoint Survival, he's got an entire series about how hobos used to actually live. And by hobo, I'm not talking about the kind of hobo we picture these days when somebody says the word hobo. as in, I'm not talking about a drug-addled vagrant. I mean, back in the 20s and earlier, the times of the Great Depression and financial crashes, people would be wandering railway tracks from town to town trying to find work. These were good, honest people who just didn't have employment, therefore didn't have any money, didn't have any food. So they travelled the railway lines. That's the sort of hobo he's looking at. And in his series about hobos, there is lots and lots and lots of videos of what you can make out of things and this, that and the other. Please do that. I'm not suggesting that we should bankrupt these small businesses that are making these things or anything like that. You know, if you insist on using them, that's entirely up to you. If you enjoy them, that's fine. For me though, when we're looking at bushcraft, the idea should be that we're trying to get away with carrying as little kit as possible. And I know a lot of people end up getting gifts from companies, can you review this and stuff, and that's fine. I'm not against any of that at all. If somebody's going to make good use of it, great. But there has to come a point where if you're bushcrafting, you want to try and take as little as you can, with the exception of knowledge and skills. They weigh nothing, they cost you nothing, and they never leave you. And that is really, for me, the essence of bushcraft, is your surroundings. If it's one of those where you're like, and don't, you know, I don't always do that. If you've watched my channel, you've seen me like, nah, I can't be bothered with bark and stuff. I'll just use a lighter and fire lighters. I need a fire, I'm cooking. That wasn't the point of the video. That's fine. If you're camping, you're camping. You don't have to do it in sort of equipment poverty every single time. To this day, I'll go off out in my little camper van and I'll take pressure lamps and stoves and all manner of things. It's not even really camping at that point for me. It's basically, I'm taking my garage with me on holiday. I have every possible thing I could have, right down to a electric powered by leisure batteries and inverters. So it's not always that rough, but when we are out in the woods and stuff, we can very easily and quickly come up with creative and better ways without having to carry this one extra piece of manufactured thing. And aside from me kicking it across the woodlands, and I can see the bend where my boot hit it a little bit, but looking across the base and all of that, it's already warping. One burn and it's warping all over the place, because it will. It's thin and it's stainless, and stainless steel's quite soft. I question realistically how many burns you get out of that before it's rendered useless from the process of using it. I mean, it looks cool, but for me, it's a no. Anyway, guys, that being said, that's my waffle now. That's my folding stoveism got out of my system for now. But so as always, guys, get out there, get having fun, get bushcrafting, be safe, but go and find some ways that you can find to easily cook or boil or brew without buying things to do so. Yeah, I guess the idea really is to practice making small, reliable fires as opposed to huge campfires for when you just want a cuppa and all of that. But for me, what I just did, hole in the ground, it's one less thing to carry, it's one less thing to assemble, it's 4 sticks, I didn't pay any postage on that, and it's a lot closer to the nature that we all come out to enjoy. So that, guys, is all from Bosun Dan, and I will catch you on the next one. No idea what that will be, but till then, Bosun out.